Hello, everyone. This is Tanner Menard. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. And I am an organizer with Equality Arizona. This is the Queer Poetry Salon. Um, I'm so happy to be here this evening. This is actually the year anniversary of us starting the Queer Poetry Salon. Um, I'm so humbled to be able to do this work with Equality Arizona. Many of you who have been part of this queer poetry salon know that a very sweet and kind spirit um, accompanies this programming. Um, and it's a spirit that is very dear to me because I've seen it unite so many people, both in Equality Arizona's mission to liberate queer people in Arizona, but also in our little Arizona community and now in a national community through Zoom. We're able to give voice to queer poets. And I am especially overjoyed by this particular reading because as an Indigenous person, it really makes me happy to see um, this Zoom room full of Indigenous poets, including some Indigenous poets from the Southeast where my tribe is from, and poets from here in the Southwest, poets in Chicago, all over the country. These people are coming from. And a few months ago, I contacted a press called Anomaly and asked if I could curate a folio of queer Indigenous poetics. And I had no idea that so many incredible poets would submit. And so I asked those poets if they'd be willing to participate in this queer poetry salon. And we have four of them here. One of the poets, my cousin Rain Prud'homme Cranford, was not able to attend this evening. She was supposed to, so I just wanted to say her name and send good wishes to her this evening and to her family in Oklahoma and everywhere else. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Julian De La Cruz, the person who co-hosts this event with me, and he will introduce these brilliant, beautiful, queer Indigenous poets. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julian, and I'm a second year at the MFA program at Arizona State University, and I've really been enjoying these readings, co-hosting these readings, and there's just been so much talent and so many mind-blowing poets and poems, and we're excited to share tonight with you all. So without further ado, I will read off the bio of our first writer. Jenny L. Davis, Chickasaw, is an indigiqueer, two-spirit writer and artist from Oklahoma and an assistant professor at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Her work has mostly recently been published in Transmotion, Santa Ana River Review, Broadsided, Yellow Medicine Review, As Us, Raven Chronicles, and Resist Much, Obey Little, inaugural poems to the resistance, and exhibited at the Zibiwing Center of Anishinaabe Culture and Lifeways and Minnesota Center for Book Arts. And without further ado, everyone, Jenny L. Davis.
All right, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Tanner for organizing first the folio and then this reading. It's really an honor to be in such great company. And I am really enjoying the opportunity to hear everyone else read this evening, and hopefully with a minimal amount of technical issues on all of our ends. So we do have a couple of poems that I'll be reading this evening. And to start us off, my first poem is titled Apocalypse Journals. It is the 21st day of the 11th month of the 524th year of the apocalypse, and the tobacco plant is blooming. As I poured water into soil, I leaned forward to ask the pale pink petals, how can you flower in all this chaos? She didn't hesitate to answer, my child, it is the only time to bloom. Each season is dangerous in its own ways, and if you hold your breath until it's safe, you will suffocate. It is always the apocalypse. All right. The next one, I wrote both in the sense of missing home, as the bio said, I'm from Oklahoma and haven't been able to go home since January. So this is both missing home and imagine perhaps that it misses me back. So this poem is The River Has Missed You. The river has missed you. Can you blame her for not being there when you finally returned? For slipping away into the air and clay until only the baked imprints of her limbs remain. Sing her the swelling songs. Let her feel your weight as you dance above her. The river has missed you. Can you blame her for rising to find you? For so longing to feel the tickle of your touch against the smooth rocks of her flesh that she called out to the rains and wind to carry her to you. Sing her the lulling songs. Let her taste the sweet offerings of tobacco on your fingers. The river has missed you. She will forgive you for waiting so long to visit again, for forgetting how it feels to finally exhale and feel weightless as she holds you in her arms. Listen to the healing songs. Let the water call you home. All right. I don't want to jinx it, but we've gotten 2 in without any technical issues, I hope. So I will go ahead. This next one is an occasional poem, and it is called Quantum Entanglement Theory. And this is, I wrote after reading about the first photo that captures quantum entanglement last July, almost a little over a year ago. I do not want to own you or be your possession. I want to become entangled, form new constellations from the missing particles quantum theory says are bound to us, to be held together by spider silk and conspiracies of breath, and the anticipation of gravitational fields that touch long before we do, Andromeda waiting for the coming of Milky Way. Tanner, your clapping is amazing. That's I think I need a GIF of that or a GIF, however we're saying it, just as. All right, and I wasn't sure technology-wise how well this was going to work, so this will be my last poem. Leave us on a slightly sarcastic note here. So this is a poem called #21st Century Indian Problems. Number 1, if we don't know our clan, does that mean we can eat all of the animals or none of them? 2, if my partner and I are both from matriarchal communities, whose family do we move in with? And who provides the deer for the wedding? 3, if being decolonial means I should give up fry bread, do I also have to give up my glasses? They're the only way I can see the beads to make my traditional regalia. And 4, if I am Deer Clan on my mom's side, but the sorting hat put me in Ravenclaw, which animal do I put on my beaded medallion? Can I put both? Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. That was so amazing. All right, so our next reader is going to be Travis Hedge Coke. Travis Hedge Coke writes a weekly online column, Patricia High Smash, and is the editor of 2 volumes of Along the Chaparral and associate editor of Sing, Poetry from the Indigenous Americas. Of mixed descent, their work has appeared courtesy of Gargoyle, Bee Stung, The Comics Cube, China Central Television, University of Arizona Press, and a MySpace TV show with Chris Catton. They are thankful for animals and plants inside and outside while self-isolating, and recently completed a free online visual album, Low Fruit. And without further ado, Travis Hedge Coke, everyone.
I'm very envious seeing anyone read off the computer screen today, because I can't see letters on my computer screen even from this distance. It's sort of like I start to realize like, wow, like I'm really blind. So I'm going to read off the tablet in nice big chunky letters. This first one is called God and Pony Show. God and Pony Show. Back when the grasses were tall, I saw a couple of you. God damn it, this is important. This is flea market country, giveaway land, giving it all away when the grasses were tall. Hey, Blondie, hey, yellow hair. We're dead in time, we're dead. Mile belt, bang, we're dead. This is for wearing that shirt. This is for eating those bones, grinding grandfather's bones into shapes of imaginary men, faces made for money or pawn shop portraits, until we heaven no rhythms remaining, no reclamations come. Two tigers in love. We who to die in green floral length, floral arrangements, thunder the double image as we can see from that girl he always missed. Day is special, my day is CIA special, in love with the girl. Because people are sensible, they can't deal with things calmly. Love with somebody else was indicated, a breathless pull of interest. It's true, it is a comedy of contemporary American culture. We who salute you from falling towers of water in increasingly brief, awkwardly defiant breakwater streams from that special day in love with the girl. Because people come from red flowers and die in due hours, we compromise with what made yellow bands on the arms of bald men turtles. Bliss in white erase marks on broke black plastic, in photographs behind laminate, aged without wear or tear. We who to die eat our chocolate sundaes with victorious smiles and teeth that ache electrically to the cold and sugar thunder of ice cream and syrupy nostalgia. From that other girl he always missed, who was dating the first girl all alone. The Purple Manor. Have you seen the well-designed door fob of the Purple Manor in 1,004 fractures of showy facet hidden in 11 countries of men's men and ladies' women until it stops? Hey, cuz, hey, cuz, hey, cuz, you only give us rights, cuz. Queer bars tend to the side entrance, either by design of luck. Have you opened a door with the back of your shoulder, turned away to open and enter, kept your back to the door, your eye to the cautious street that clearly doubts you, and given it all, either by luck of design, more hungry babies dance across these floors every night. And to see it all sedated, now erased, how do they, when they erase everything someone worked for, isn't what is important, not who worked, but someone did. Hey, cuz, dancing up these floors every night. In 11 cautious countries of workers' rights. In 11 cautious countries of workers' rights. In 11 other countries in event nights. In 1,004 hidden fractures of showy facet. Young lady on a bus. America is born on an ancient Indian burial mound, aren't we all? Young lady on a bus reading, popcorn, like cornbread and eaten corn, was invented by white people when they discovered Indians didn't know what to do with it. In mysteriously cultivated gardens, you might think someone turned this soil. The bus goes downtown, sad, aren't we all? There's a green one, someone says, dun, 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 dun. And someone else takes a puff hidden in their cupped palms and says, when did all our moms start working like this is new? But Our Lady on the Bus, how's that? Easy as a 10-year thing going out of bounds and heading out of town as fast as the bus seat will take her is farther away anytime. Aren't we all? Send tits, somebody says from the cab of a truck going the other way, slow back into America. Give it this. What America can't sex up, it will parcel and sell. Or haven't you noticed what you pay now, someone will ask you to pay on again tomorrow? Aren't we all? Rolling lush. Threshed violet spun through flush of rose and lilac braced in an innervation of volant tendencies to be under pecan tree, rose, and not any alley this could be, any alley, half-paved street without overhead, skin that is overheard, light that is not stars that could make clear for me curve of skin I can feel well enough under my skin, but against cold in this dark overheard skin I can butt against. Noble Dio, bright titanium love from a scrapyard is lost, mended for use with a box standard as it had never been used before bright Io, hidden for pattern, submission, junkyard, left for curb, firm concrete, alleyways rescue, alleyways rescue. A tiny black man at the apex of a bright red curtain, too huge, the folds dangling in behind him, but high overhead, tragically straight, pinned to a brass rail running the length of a stage right to left like Japanese poetry rolling lush. For money, for science, silencio science, succumb, for scrubber and getter, holding electric thoughts in wet nerves, thoughts slipped so long the wires slake, ions firm patter as I loose left to right like a line rolling up, threshed violets, noble like a line rolling up. Thank you.
Travis, those
So
poems
rhythmic.
were so beautiful, and I get seriously heartsick for Southern accents because I am from Louisiana. So when that beautiful Oklahoma accent that you that was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Travis. All right, so our next reader in this amazing lineup is Arianne True, who is Choctaw, Chickasaw, is a queer poet and folk artist from Seattle. Arianne has taught and mentored with writers in the schools, Youth Speak Seattle, and the Richard Hugo House, and is a proud alum of Hedgebrook and the MFA program at the Institute of American Indian Arts. She's also a Jackstraw writer for 2020. You can find more of her work gathered online at ariannetrue.com. We can't wait to hear your work.
Thanks, Julian. Hi, everyone. I want to start with a special shout out. I am from the IIMFA program. I went there. And just today, the class of 2020 for the program had their graduation announcement, their online graduation ceremony. So sending much love to them on their special day. That class is full of really amazing writers, so keep an eye out for them. You will be hearing their names if you haven't already. Thank you so much, Tanner, for organizing the folio and the reading. I'm really excited to share some pieces with you all. And maybe my mom is here, which would be fun. So the first poem I have for everyone is called Encoded Anatomies Between a Breakup and a Heart Specialist. 1. Limbs. This is how it feels to be boneless, to slide over ground, only muscle. But when I lie down, bone heavy, each line draws a human body on the bed. How wild to still feel tired after days of rest. How wild to still have a racing brain, watching it walk, each step a lash, a soft curl unfurls along long limbs. That is not how I move anymore, not today at least, not now. Something is in my heart or my nerves. Something slows and numbs. I tremble. Doctors will come with offerings. I already hold open and still. Whole creatures live this slowly. Cycles of torpor, breath, collapse. 2. Mantle with contents. I used to think diagnosis inevitable, to think all wrong things detectable and known. Certainty is passed through my organs transformed. Something as soft and malleable as an octopus has a hard, sharp beak somewhere in the supple. You can't see it from here, but there it is, and venom, call it poison, spreads the same whether or not you watch. Know what bit. I'll see a heart specialist next week. I wonder if she knows which tender set of cells grows itself 3 hearts, one for each set of gills and one for the rest of everything. There are not second and third hearts powering my lungs. She knows that already, before meeting. What will she and my body say to each other in that office? I've become more afraid, leave trails of ink wherever I go. 3. The conversation where we split repeats in my head. You look last at my eyes. We meet them so rarely these days. You know what it is to be sick like this, a body full of thresholds and tipping points. Yes, I think the iron pills orange juice combo you like is helping. Yes, the grass beneath my windows grows around your image most days. Threads of wind and thick trees spin into your voice telling me what you love. It is too sad to call you when I am sick and we are not lovers right now. No one knows what's wrong, what happened, what's left. And you might hear little paper rustling sounds because I'm reading off of bona fide paper. The next poem is called This Story Doesn't End in the Unobscured. Cato shakes me gently among the full floor, bodies companionable, room a drowse hung with breath, shaky hands, morning blotted blonde. Birds open slowly their coats before the sun can throat a sky. A curling shaft of bird calls waves to the salt line. It is little past 4 in the morning. Tracking bare-top feet on the blacktop paved, calf lines drag up islands, currents pull both sides of shore. Sand evaporated, wood washed white, wrong side of the ocean. And Cato, like mouse, like stoat, like fennec unfurling, her shirt against the mist, her paleness a bull against the churned sea, her body distilled salt, porous, lit. I look back at the dogs of the beach, suppose them the furious hounds of something. Arms spilt light, ailing tang toward her crystal gleam and ache. The flush of cold spills into ships, my sunk hips at the long mouth of a balloon. The sun, chilled and rosy, breathes fast, hard. The next poem is a pandemic poem, and it is named such. This is Pandemic. While home is an outbreak, we pass a graveyard. And this is a poem that I have really come to love, but came from a strange errand with my girlfriend where we just had to do a long road trip to do something onerous, but I ended up getting a poem from it, so that was a fun bonus. Pandemic. While home is an outbreak, we pass a graveyard. This country has a way of forgetting the dead, of making me forget too. I read about other places where dead are visited and headstones washed, places where altars bring them home to us once a year or always. Growing up, I heard not to breathe passing graveyards. Or what? No one ever said. I've only stopped doing it this year. I don't know where my 3 gone grandparents are, not their remains. The 4th wants to be ash on the ocean. I have never been to the grave of someone I knew, and we have no place in our homes for the dead. They find places to come anyway, out and around, Chloe chuckling at me on a bus over the university bridge, Kim on by my desk or driving out of town, Mark and Ed Nadine. We have no idea what to do with the bodies. They end up chemical in corners by the highway with the soft feet of caretakers, the held breath of passing children. It is most of a forgetting. We left the dead behind to come here. My people too. A decade on foot, guns and graves at our backs, graves at our feet. Who visits them? I haven't yet. and the tall northern villagers who came on steamships, the bodies, flowers, songs, now an ocean away. My dead lie trailside and across the salt ocean, becoming lands I have never walked. Don't have the right names for. Hope to tread and will tread with reverence. Will breathe when I pass and will pause. Will trust the hands I feel at my back, dozens, almost solid where they make contact. Of course we have broken how to be with death when the old earth of their bodies is too far to fall to. Nowhere to kneel and keen. Sometimes no names to call, or the wrong words to call them in. Losses we can't name in the language they happened. Today I am scared for names I know. Loss I'm afraid to become fluent in. Under which tender bodies, whose palms I have pressed to my lips, graves may open. But this week, after months of blue fingertips, there is just enough warmth in the damp spring to leave the window open a breath at night, and wake up every morning, when we do wake up, to bird song. I have two more pieces for you. One is the piece from the folio that Tanner curated. I'm working on a book-length project called Exhibits, and I just got a fellowship to work on it this year, so wahoo, very excited. That means I have to actually do it now. And it's an experiment, it's a collection of experimental poems that are making a museum. And it'll have galleries. It's gonna, I think the reader's gonna go to the bathroom at some point. There's a gift shop. Of course, you have to exit through there. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's not a fun book aside from the structure, but this is one of the pieces from it. And I'm gonna show it to you so you see what it looks like, but I don't want you to read along. So I'm just gonna show it to you for a second so you know the shape, and I'll show it to you again at the end. This is the shape. Okay. So here it is. My name is new. I live in disease and relief. That day chose, unsure, gotten better. Say acute, say attacks, all day losing to non-reality, that drug. Today, this point, started obsessively, began worse. Over my symptoms, I was function in a way that degraded. Distortions lost, doing the only thing that mattered, the limit. She had taken me, my symptoms hand, scared for the best, for me. I was diagnosed. My name is new. I live in disease and relief. That day chose, unsure, gotten better. Say acute, say attacks, all day losing to non-reality, that drug. Today, this point, started obsessively, began worse. Over my symptoms, I was function in a way that degraded. Distortions lost, doing the only thing that mattered, the limit. She had taken me, my symptoms hand, scared for the best, for me. I was diagnosed. My name is new. I live in disease and relief. That day chose, unsure, gotten better. Say acute, say attacks, all day losing to non-reality, that drug. Today, this point, started obsessively, began worse. Over my symptoms, I was function in a way that degraded. Distortions lost, doing the only thing that mattered, the limit. She had taken me, my symptoms hand, scared for the best, for me. I was diagnosed, my name is new, I live in disease and relief, so here it is. One night, my friend fell inside me, sparked, and not just spark. Recover, too. And I will show it to you one more time so you can see what it looks like. You can also see this on the Anomaly website. And I have one more piece for you. This is a short one. This is another little pandemic piece, and it doesn't have a set title, but the working title is Even the Nice Days We're Inside. Julian, could you pin me for the last one?
I think maybe Tanner might be able to do that. Tanner? I think they gave you the thumbs up that you're
Okay,
pinned.
cool. Great, thank you.
Your pin.
Okay, thanks. Even the nice days we're inside. The forest drifts in through the window, rising up the slope from the narrow water, carving the low points lower. Once with you, a waiting bird we watched, waiting to see how close it would come. Now that trail is gated by implication, too many people too close, path sated and spilling over. I am hungry for the touch of ferns, for happenstance, and a lost world of coincidence I once felt standing all around me like a stand of trees in the city. Thank you all so much.
That was so powerful. It was like a string of jewels that just like pulled me in. And I just wanted to say congratulations on your fellowship. All right, I'll be introducing our next reader. Our next reader is Crisosto Apache, originally from Mescalero, New Mexico, on the Mescalero Apache Reservation. They are Mescalero Apache, Chiricahua Apache, and Diné Navajo. Their Diné clans are Salt Clan, born for the Towering House Clan. They hold an MFA from the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Crisosto is an assistant professor of English at the Rocky Mountain College for Art and Design. They are the associate poetry editor for the Offing magazine. They also continue their advocacy work for the Native American LGBTQ two-spirit identity. Crisosto's debut collection, Genesis, from Lost Alphabet, stems from the vestiges of memory and cultural identity of a self-emergence as language, body, and cosmology. Some of the poems in their collection have appeared in Denver Quarterly and been a pushcart nominee, Cream City Review, Plume Anthology, Commonplace, the Journal of Early American Life, photographer Christopher Felver's Tending the Fire, and most recently the Poetry Foundation's Poetry Magazine June 2018 issue. And without further ado, Crisosto Apache.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. Thank you to the organizers, Tanner, Julian, and the Equality Arizona. I'm really honored to be reading with such wonderful writers. I'm going to be reading a couple of poems from my book, Genesis, Redacted. And then I'm also going to read from my newest manuscript, Ghost Word, which some of the poems have been published already online. And Anomaly was, I was proud to know that Anomaly had chosen 3 to publish from that manuscript. I'm going to start off reading a poem from my book, and it is called Des Son, Two of Me, which has been reprinted in the what is it, the W.W. Norton anthology that was released this month on the 20th, called Light of the World, was subdued. Our Songs Came Through was edited by Joey Harjo. So I was really pleased to have this poem republished. Little backstory behind this poem. It is the format for this poem, you probably can't see it, but it's at the top half of the chromosome. I have a poem that is broken in half, and this is the top half of it. Okay, so it's son, and this son, 2 of me. Note to myself. It's son, woman, Hastin, man. He crosses 2 links. She crosses 2 links. Intertwined into helix, a helix intertwines, a twin waterborne suit, twins born in a water suit. Inside synchronous sun, synchronous moon inside, solar pollux extends, lunar forelimb extends, his deterrent dirt road, her itinerant interstate, atop a white mountain, into white gypsum basin. He fills a dual purpose. She nestles inside it all. He lusts uncontrollably. She absolves eternally. From oceanic derivative, from continental impasse. He calls concerning giants. She infuses vesper currents of monozygotic origin, fusing each obtuse head. He recognizes starbirth. She identifies twin stars. He a soft drizzle, she a rainstorm, a turquoise flaw, a vague shell white, of stone into stone, of water into water, a unisex binary copy of a copy binary unisex, transfusing powerful, transfuses of power, of entropy existence through viscous cells, transfer of M to F, transfer of F to M, a myopic resolve, ignores center clash of genetic boundary, nearly kinetic entrance. These parts of me remain conflicted. These parts of me are not gradual, Y chromosome or X chimera, Hostine, she, I, its son, he, intersexual, sections collide. Okay, the second poem I'm going to read from my book is called Synapse. In case linings weigh against your skin, sweltering, not swelling, not moving beyond taction or that saddling a ball of breath, which pushes against the gilt embroider or sarcophagus, maybe a chrysalis. Cufflinks secure iphonic breath in crisscrossing singed hands. Another absence of your breath, no exclamation to butterfly wings, no trembling to hummingbirds, your moon written word, your sun phases form. Water delineates the swirling vacuum of air and whispering gasps. Your eyes widen on eaves, awake. From last night, water ripples from the fountain drops, iron wrench turns in a clockwise creak, sighs decease and decompress, counterclockwise increase your aspirate surge. Droplets cushion and form quickening moss, ever thickening at the base. A black glistening liquid undulates with slow currents, splaying glissades of ebbs. By plummeting onto your chest cavity, every breath hastens its impact, a cacophony of murmurs. Soft kisses on your desiccant forehead, forsaking within a lasting glottal frill, never leaving your sneer, a cadaver's smiling gaze. The night before, a labyrinth of crude bathroom stalls, lining up with each coffin edifice, emanates an echo of moans and dispels a small voice among lit lamp flickers. Night after night, these reoccurrences do not fade against the brown rust slippage of liquid language. Sitting at the edge of your lips, verdigris procures a sludge of blatant memory, sacred to turquoise at dusk. That same dusk, your body is left in a margin of cornfield and merging roadway. Your head faces south, tilting just enough to see that reoccurrence, disappear in a gleam of red taillights, you again and again, until the next morning as the sun swells with pink linings. It bereaves the sound of doves taking flight, hushing the shrills of sitting thrush. Okay, so yeah, this was my first book, and I was really excited to have Lost Alphabet publish it. I think you can find it online at Amazon. So I'm going to read a few poems from my newest work called Ghost Word. It's a sort of a conversation with a modernist Japanese writer named Akutagawa Ryunosuke. His last book, A Fool's Life, was very captivating to me. And the book was introduced to me by Arthur Z when I was attending the Institute of American Indian Arts back in the 90s, early 1990, I believe. But I carried around that carbon copy of that book because it was so captivating, and it forced me about maybe 2007 to sort of sit down and do sort of a response to it. There are 53 entries to that last manuscript of his, and he had written this manuscript called A Fool's Life as he committed suicide. So I think it took him like 3 hours to die, and in those 3 hours he was able to write this final work, which is one of the reasons why I found it captivating in terms of what one is able to say during those last moments. So here are my responses to that. The first two I'm going to read are published on the Anomaly website. So the first one is called 50, Confined. Quote, but to believe in a God, to believe in a God's love, that was impossible, unquote, Chickasaw. Many of them went astray as whispers away from faith. Many of them went astray from faith as whispers away. In the exhaust of these whispers, I become the air of arid fall. As it torments my hands of some presence, by some torment, God redacted. Here, pacing inside my small square room, in falls remain. I persist this empty pace, but the room is small and arid inside. Inside, I am small, and I believe the pace of this arid room. Inside, I stray from the belief of fall whispers and small rooms. Belief in them fails in the small space of this whisper, yet in this whisper they fail and fall in exhaust. I have paced the floor for so long, I have gotten better at it. But the arid belief in God, redacted, fails the small spaces of these rooms, but mostly arid whispers pace the presence of small beliefs. To believe in God, redacted, is to believe they exist. This next one is called 51 Conquest. This one is also published on the Anomaly website. Quote, in this small darkness, day by day he lived, unquote, Chickasaw. In this determining dark, inside my condensing state of mind, there is much clarity to consider. Inside my conflicting state of mind, there is much conjecture to clarify. As the sordid lump of flesh drapes over a yellow armchair, I presume the defeat, the control of place, the control of people. I presume the manifest which continues to exist and that I resist. I challenge daily the destiny, which is this darkest hour of being, my becoming in this dark American hour, redacted. An opinion, like all opinions, leave nothing to clarify, even after a conclusion formed based on an incomplete information. By use of force or by use of this state of mind, this darkness manifests a destiny left in a gripping palm and blank conjecture. Nothing is determined. Nothing determines the outcome without a belief to consider, a considering leaving no belief. And yet outside the wind blows the drying leaves about. The day moves on without me. Okay. So this one is corresponding to number 11. Number 11, Dawn. Quote, in the sky exactly overhead glittered a star, unquote, Chickasaw. Each morning I find myself facing east, spreading an offering of pollen towards the grove of pine trees. longing for an embrace, maybe an erroneous prayer. I place no plausible reason for my mistake for the past 64 winter cycles. It does not feel any colder to me. I remember one early dawn, an anaclitic morning. I found myself in a vacant parking lot across the street from where I used to live, sitting in my empty Chevrolet pickup truck with my coat bundled under my head because again, I was locked out of the house. The gilded air tries too hard to separate me from my darlings, but it brings them closer, closer to my longing embrace. I clutch the tuft of coat under my head tighter, embrace, bringing me closer to the site where a meteor shower fell, just above my beating heart. This one is called 17, Moth. Quote, in wind reeking of duckweed, a butterfly flashed, unquote, Arakadagawa. I, some nocturid larva, matured only to flap helplessly for a time in a squall of blank wind, relentless as I release metallic dust from my wings. Many nights come and go, and I flutter nearby ferociously, jutting against the bulb. With each nightly impact, it sends flecks of dust discharging away from my plumeless body. At the final flicker, the light fades and the dawn emerges. Filament flies out in the approaching light, which settles on my rumpled cheek as bruises. I've got two more from the same collection. This one is number 10, The Teachers. Quote, in the autumn sunlight, the oak stirring, not a slightest twig's leaf, unquote, Arakadagawa. I have hauled around a crate containing copies of their signed books, old manuscripts, and scraps of paper, along with my own rejected inscriptions, which reveal the extensions of exerted tree branches and connections to frilled bridges over land masses, and the retained voices of contained bodies of water. The stationary mentions of semantic connections inside each sheet of flattened pulp, containing all my belongings I thought would make me a better writer. I can only remember the one tree, its branches overreaching. Underneath it covers where I am awake, thumbing through each page, trying to figure out how I will carry each copy. Each word inside those pages, the breezes blowed coarsely. I remained wavered, unmoved, and dreaming. Okay, this will be my last poem. Number 1, The Pages. Quote, for a time, from the ladder's top, he had been watching them, unquote, Arakadagawa. Now, more than 20 years ago, I made my own passageway, a wandering way made to a folded Athenaeum, a dark place old as fingers, turning the paper shells of overused lines on shelves. I discovered more of those names calling, from beyond the mountains, from beyond the sea, from beyond the madness and disheveling confusion. Repetition of tousled vowels led them into a deep lull of flat slivers, smelling of mold and replete decay. I sift through each repeating voice in a tenacious howl. Oh, the mountains of Han Shan. Oh, the disobedience of Melton. Oh, the insanity of Poe and the many woes of Plath. Each filled the sinking glares. I leaned into them as twilight leans into its coming dread. Those names remain a decade blur of my own pages, a forsaken twilight, unlike the famed fin de siècle, my own century's end. If I still feel small against them, then for that small moment in my life, I can sense an inure stutter toward each English utterance, and forget that I ever heard their names calling. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ayahat, for being here with us. I would like, but before we go on to our final reader, I would like to say a few things. Thank you for reading that first poem here this evening. That your book and that poem in particular really inspired me. I just consider your book to be such an important uh, contribution to experimental Indigenous poetry. Um, it was really powerful for me when you sent that copy to me, and it has continued to inspire me. And I'm so humbled for you to be part of this reading, because I just your work is very precious to me. So thank you so much for being here with us. Another thing that I'd like to just acknowledge is that I am not comfortable with doing land acknowledgements, because um, I feel that they can sometimes be kind of disingenuous, because the conditions around which we make those acknowledgements never change. It never changes. And I feel like that just to make the acknowledgement is not it's not really worth much. But what I would like to acknowledge this evening is the living human beings that comprise our people, all of our different peoples, and the people who came before us that shared wonderful things with us and made our lives possible. So all of the tribes that are represented here, and then all of the tribes that are people who are listening in on this call now or in the future, I would just like to acknowledge your people and say thank you to you for representing your own people. And I'm so honored and so proud to have so many tribes represented here in this reading, because in what we call the United States, there are over 600 different tribal peoples, and it's such a pleasure to hear from to have such a sprinkling of different tribes. And from the first reader to Kai, who's about to read, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a real gift for our audience, and it's an honor for me. In my tribe's language, um, a person that we consider to be family or to be like a cousin, we call it our shokapen. And so I would like to address each of you that way, as my cousin, as my family, as my shokapen. I like to shorten it and tell people to call me Shooky, because it's got a nice ring to it. So now I consider you all to be my Shooky. I hope you consider me that way too. Thank you for being part of my family. I really, that to me, that's an acknowledgement. To me, that's a real feeling. And that's what I feel we need more of in this time, is a real feeling. So thank you all for bringing a real feeling to me tonight, and to everybody that's watching. I'm very touched. A few years ago, I took a poetry workshop. It was online before a lot of poetry workshops were online. Now they're all online. And I met a wonderful person. I met a really wonderful person named Kai Minash Pyle, who I didn't think would be joining us for this reading tonight, but I saw them in the attendee list and asked if they wanted to read. So I'm gonna introduce them. I'm so glad that you came. Thank you. Kai Minash Pyle is a Two-Spirit Métis, and pardon me if I mispronounce any of these. Bawating Nishabe writer, originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin, currently based in Deota Othunwe, Minneapolis. They are a PhD student researching Anishinaabe Two-Spirit history. Their first poetry chapbook, On We Go, was published monolingually in Ojibwe in January 2020. Wow, that's really impressive, Kai. And I just want to send a shout out to you for being in the same department as my homie Adrian, who I've gone to Native American church ceremonies with for many, many years. So it's so good to have you here this evening. And without further ado, I'd like to let you read some poems for us, or whatever you're going to read.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to read tonight, even on such short notice. And I'm really grateful, Tanner, to see you again on Zoom or video, whatever we used back in 2018 or whatever. But yeah, so I'm gonna read, I think, just 3 poems. And the middle one, I'll read both in Ojibwe and in English so that you can kind of get a sense of the language and the meaning. The first poem was just published like 2 days ago, I think, on Bee Stung Mag. And it's called Treatise on a Trans Indian Love Scene. I am ready for my close-up as a lover of a cis gay boy, a portrait of the artist as a young faggot. I am a wanted man wanting. I drizzle his lips with honey and suck out the poison with my liar's tongue. I am trying to be as beautiful as a poem, as beautiful as a gay Indian love poem, as a poem made of shards of glass reflecting starlight. My ribs a ladder tied tight. Can I keep my binder on? So no man can climb to the moon on my skin. I am a shadow of a shadow, and you are the rock formation I cling to. Staccato breath 1, 2, 3. The camera swings wildly the way the world tilts as his blood sings through his veins under my touch. Light speed travel invented via gay sex. Don't stumble on your words there. This trans body is a sacred mound, not a speed bump. By which I mean it is a place of sacrifice and mourning. By which I mean, let your fingers slip under the hem of my shirt. Yeah, the binder is fine. And give me your heart in the palm of my hand. It doesn't mean anything. If I had a string of wampum for every cis gay boy I fell in love with, I could replace international diplomacy with an oral history of transgender longing, and maybe that would be all right too. All right. Oops. The second one is called Na Bewewin Nabiwewin. And in English, it's called Becoming Man, Becoming Water. So this is the Ojibwe version. Let me start over. Aninkeage the Jin de Zayamban, Nia Wing, Anishinaabe Moyan. Gawe Nayam Agasinu Nikidwanan, Jagashka Bizoyan, Jabiza Kaman and Dushka Ayin. Nizanagain Danin the Dizoyan, Ijichigewe Ekidwaning. Gawe Nijaga I, Nina's a son, Ninjin, Ninindun, Ninuga, Nindinimaganan. Induajigo Eque Wisuan, in a new Wisuan, Nisuagabu Wayan Dush. Aninkia Gedajin Dizayan Ban, Bash Galbigwani Gniao, Being the Gajuan Nimisqueen, Na Bewin, Nibiwin. So here's the English. How would I talk about myself, my body in Ojibwe? There are no words to wrap me up in, to put on my new things. I find it hard to imagine myself in verbs, not my skin, my hair, my hands, my mouth, my hips, my shoulders. Instead, not womaning, not manning, but standing in between. How would I talk about myself when my body is blooming, when in my blood runs becoming man, becoming water? Okay, and then the last one, I'm going to read the one that's from the folio in Anomaly. It is called Funereal Dirge for Silence. I open my mouth and no sound comes out. The sound that is silence comes pouring over my teeth and my tongue past my lips like drool down my chin, drizzling the concrete beneath my feet, and it is a silence such that has never been heard. In this sound, I am regurgitating all the silences I have not inherited through DNA or blood memory or teaching scrolls or sexual transmission. The silences I have not inherited choke me, clog my throat with tears that have never had a chance to fall, but I like that sometimes. I like that. We are learning collectively to tune our eardrums to this silence. Rest, 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 rest. A 4 on the floor beat. A man in a pressed suit comes by and politely tells me to wipe my chin, please. Would I please stop vomiting silence all over the floor because I'm scaring the customers? But it's too late for him. The silence is already past his knees and he's splashing around in it. His pants getting ruined in the cold, wet absence. It's still coming. 500 or more years of silences are being ejected from my body, rejected from my body, coming out in my spit and my sweat and my tears and my cum. A silent choir comes to attend to my purge. They can hear the 4 on the floor. They are singing now too. Rest, 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 rest. How miigwech, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kai. And thank you again, everybody, Travis and Arianne and Crisosto and Kai and Jenny. And I would like to acknowledge Rain Prud'homme Cranford, who was supposed to read with us tonight, but was unable to. And I would also like to acknowledge Sarah Clark, who's the editor of Anomaly, who allowed us to put our folio together. I will post a link to the folio on the Facebook live feed once the video is done, and I can navigate to do that with this technology. So thank you again, all of you, for reading with us tonight. I would like to thank also Equality Arizona for making this space possible for us. It's really amazing that there is an LGBTQ organization in Arizona that has the kind of insight and foresight and care to make a space like this possible, where we can read poetry, where we can really celebrate all of the diversity that is possible through poetry. This is the second time that we've had an all Indigenous reading as part of this series, and I'm so grateful to Equality Arizona. If anyone out there, please go to www.equalityarizona.org. We really need volunteers right now. As you know, we are in one of the most critical election cycles of our lifetimes. We really need to vote like our life depends on it, because it literally, as queer people, it literally does. Like we are really like, and I am a person who prefers not to be political. I have to admit it, but we're in a time where people that like are adherents of QAnon are gaining seats in our House of Representatives, and we are up against something that is completely warped and completely antithetical to life itself. And so for that reason, I encourage everyone in Arizona, please donate, please contact Equality Arizona and get involved, so that we can continue to strengthen our community and continue to not only survive, but to thrive in this increasingly hostile climate that we're living in. So like that, I would just, like to end this poetry reading with a good thought, which is that the spirit that each of these poets brought to this reading is the spirit of their people, is the spirit of the original people of the land that we're living. and so much love and so much kindness and so much insight was brought to us this evening. So again, thank you, and thank you to all of your people and all of your families. And I'm wishing good health and happiness to all of your families right now as well.